Thanks, Lisa. That was lovely. So welcome everyone today. Hope you're feeling nice and fresh on Sunday morning. Today I'm going to talk about how to positively influence your clients' nutrition choices. So what are the problems clients face when trying to change nutrition? There's a few of them. One we hear about is time. So when they talk about lack of time, it's usually lack of time in the way that they can't even think about making another change. They feel really busy. And the idea of having to change nutrition for a lot of people seems like a big, hard step with, a lot of changes involved in terms of having to totally rework what they're eating, what the family's eating. In terms of other influences, there's responsibilities like work and family, other priorities that come up. There's social influences as well. So a lot of people find it very difficult to change nutrition with their social circle. If people in their circle are eating unhealthily, if there's a lot of social priorities like lots of dinners and going out all the time, people actually struggle to try and make or sustain dietary changes. Money can be a problem for some people, so lack of finances to make healthy choices and to choose fresh, healthy foods. Feelings, sometimes feelings of confusion. I'm not sure where to start, I'm not sure what to eat, where to begin. Sometimes a bit of despair if people have been trying to lose weight or diet for a long period of time. So they've got feelings of low confidence, like I'm not really sure whether I can actually do it. Other things like guilt as well, like I really should be doing this, but I haven't done it so far. And that's actually quite disabling when people are feeling really bad about themselves. In terms of anxiety too, people feel very anxious about perhaps their health or making changes. And again, when people are not in a calm state, when they're feeling quite anxious, it's actually really hard to make changes, feel confident about them and stick with them. There's also things like skill set as well. Some people feel like they just don't know how to eat healthily or cook healthy meals or where to start or how to rework their cupboards or how to label read. So sometimes when people feel like they just don't know what to do, that actually comes into that whole thing, feeling like I don't have time to do it because I'm going to have to invest a lot of time learning these skills. Sometimes knowledge plays a part, so it can be lack of knowledge. It can be just gaps in the knowledge, or sometimes it's too much knowledge. Some of our clients have health anxiety, and that actually becomes quite disabling as well in terms of they sort of think, oh my gosh, everything I'm going to do is going to have an impact, and they almost know too much information, they don't know where to start. Sometimes thoughts can play a role as well. So people have perhaps negative thoughts about changing nutrition or their abilities to change. Sometimes beliefs. So people have been perhaps brought up with certain beliefs around nutrition that they find it difficult to change. And also surroundings as well. So our physical environment can make it really hard for clients to change, especially if you have a look, if you go back to the home, in the home environment, if the home is full of perhaps unhealthy choices because partners or families have that in the house, it becomes difficult to change. Then you step outside the doors and the reality is that fast foods and unhealthy foods are incredibly convenient and they're around us all the time. So the term you've probably heard is obesogenic, and we still live in that sort of environment, an obesogenic environment. So there's quite a few things that our clients are challenged with when trying to change nutrition. So to summarise them all, so these are all the influences on the left-hand side. So they're environmental influences, so physical, social or financial, thoughts, feelings, dietary preferences. So obviously that comes in as well when people just think, well, healthy food doesn't taste very good. Skill set, knowledge, values and beliefs. And all of these factors tend to affect whether people think that they have the ability to change or whether they think it's actually important to change as well. And then we've got timing that plays a role in motivation as well. So what you can do is collaboratively form a plan with your clients to change negative influences into positive influences. So we're going to talk a bit about that today. So we're going to go through each one of these influences, and I'm going to give you some tips and ideas with how to actually manage these with your clients. So we're going to start with the physical environment. So with the physical environment, it's a lot about access and availability and visibility and convenience. So when I was talking then about the physical environment before, that access and availability is incredibly important, because obviously if something's easier to obtain, when we're really hungry, we're more likely to actually get it and eat it. So if at home there's no choices, it's much easier to just call fast food. If you've actually got healthy options in the freezer or fridge in the cupboards, then actually that's quite convenient. So that provides that, I guess, stepping stone to making a healthy choice. The visibility and convenience is interesting too. Actually, when we see food, our pancreas produces a little bit more insulin, so we feel like eating it. So literally when food's in sight, clients are more likely to want to eat it. And we have a lot of food in sight at the moment that is not good for us. Has anyone read the book Mindless Eating? No? You should read it. It's great. But I'm going to tell you some little stories from it at the moment. So with mindless eating, it explores these concepts of access, availability, visibility, and convenience. The concept here is that we mindlessly overeat, up to about 15% on average. The concept in the book is by actually changing some of our environment and some of our triggers, we can mindlessly undereat by up to 15%. And why this is really interesting is we talk about mindfulness and mindful eating, but the reality is a lot of our clients don't do it. They're too busy. They would love to sit there and be very mindful all the time when they're eating, and it's great if they can, but it's a lot easier for clients to mindlessly undereat. So these are some of the techniques that are explored in the book. And in terms of the studies that they've done some fantastic studies exploring the concepts here. And one was done with secretaries, where they gave them 30 chocolates and they put them on the desk, in the top drawer, or 6 feet away from their desk. Guess who ate more? The ones on the desk, exactly. So the ones who had them on the desk ate an average of 9 chocolates per day. The ones who had it in the top drawer ate an average of 6 chocolates per day. And the ones where they couldn't see and it wasn't as convenient ate an average of 4 chocolates per day. So they still knew the chocolates were there, but because they weren't really in front of them, they didn't eat as much. So that's a big trigger in our environment. The other thing is really how things look as well, how they're packaged up and how we associate and the associations we make with food. So there was another study that was conducted with stale popcorn. And what they did is they got the volunteers to fill out a survey that had nothing to do with the study. But because they filled out the survey, they got some free popcorn. And they had different sets of people. So they had people that got fresh popcorn and they had people that got stale popcorn. It was stale by about 2 weeks, so it wasn't very tasty at all. Now, both groups of people either got a medium-sized bucket or a large bucket. And what the study was actually testing was, during the movie, who ate more and by what degree. So obviously the fresh popcorn got eaten more, but the interesting thing here is how much more. So the big bucket versus the medium bucket they looked at first, and with the big bucket, they ate almost half, like 45% more than the people that had the smaller bucket. So just having a larger portion size made people eat more. Then they looked at the stale versus the fresh to see whether, because this was disgusting popcorn, it didn't taste nice at all, but there was associations there. It was popcorn, it was the movies. The people with the stale popcorn, yes, they ate their popcorn, and the ones with the bigger bucket still were influenced to eat 33.6% more than those with the medium-sized bucket. So our environmental triggers here are huge. Apparently there were some comments afterwards like, oh, it wasn't that nice, but they still ate a lot of the popcorn. So that's quite a powerful trigger. And that also, there's another point in there too, they were distracted as well by the movie too. So you've got a few things going on there. The other things too in our physical environment we've had a look at is where you stand at a party. And if you're standing near the food, people eat a lot more. And if you're standing at least sort of 6 feet away and you're being distracted, you eat a lot less. So it's a simple rule, but a really easy one to note. If you're standing next to the table, make an excuse and move. In terms of the portion sizes, they've done a lot of research with this as well, and they've had a look at plate size and cup size, and it really does make a difference. whether we're choosing a large plate or a small plate. It's hard for some people to go out and buy new cutlery, new crockery, but if they can go to an entree-sized plate, then that's going to be a good thing. The other thing is where we place food as well. So a lot of us place our food on the table at night time. There's still a huge percentage of us that do that. However, what happens is, again, it's visual. The food's there on the table. So people then are more inclined to go for seconds and keep eating that food. Now, where it's not a great thing is if the food's obviously energy dense. But if it's just some salad or vegetables, then that's a great thing. So that's where the mindlessly eating trick comes in there. So if you can replace the triggers on the table with something like a bowl of salad that's not heavily dressed, obviously, and lots of vegetables, then people still feel like, if they're in that patterning too, they still feel like they can help themselves if they feel hungry, but you're obviously managing weight and obviously getting in more nutrition that way as well. So when you're working with your clients, it's about identifying for them what all the physical environment triggers are. And there'll be some that's common with your clients and some that's individualised as well. So some people will do something like this, but others won't. So it's those questions that you have to ask with your clients. So what does your home situation look like? What have you got in the cupboards? What have you got in the fridge? How do you serve up dinner? And then by stock taking exactly what they do, doing a bit of needs assessment in the home, and then also in the work. What's your work situation look like? Is there food on your desk? Is there food in the kitchen? What does it look like? What's the physical environment look like around your workplace as well? What sort of shops? So really getting a good idea of all those environmental triggers and then setting up a plan with them of how to replace those triggers. So, for example, obviously a really easy one is when they bring lunch into work because you're having it there. So it becomes really convenient. So when people are hungry and they know they already have lunch, they're less likely to go downstairs and get a pie or get something unhealthy. All right, so moving on to the cost of healthy eating. So cost can actually really influence people's nutrition choices, and low-income categories of people are less likely to choose fresh fruits and vegetables. In a 2011 survey of Australians, 13% reported they could not afford to eat nutritionally balanced meals. And research from the Harvard School of Public Health found that the healthiest diets cost $1.50 a day more than the least healthy diets. So there is a percentage of the population that really, whether it's a perception or whether it's a reality, and sometimes it's a combination of both, because if you come in with lack of skills, yes.
Sorry, is that $1.50 per person?
Oh, sorry, that's US per day.
Per person, per day?
Yes.
So if you've got 4 children,
yes.
it starts to add up.
Exactly, yep. So, as I was saying before, so that it can be a perception or it can be a reality, and particularly if there's all those factors built in as well, those other influencing factors, so lack of skill set too. So knowing how to not only buy the healthy foods, but what you can actually do with those healthy foods so that they don't go to waste. Because if you don't have a lot of money and at the end of the week there's vegetables rotting in the fridge, again, that exemplifies the cost. So what can you do? So resources for clients on a budget. So if a client's concerned with the cost of healthy eating, there's some resources online here. So the Eat for Health government website has some healthy eating on a budget resources, as does the Dietitians Association of Australia. And have any of you guys heard of the Food Sense program? No, it's a program that's actually based in WA, and the Cancer Council over there and Diabetes WA actually do all the background work, and it's funded by the WA government, and it looks like this. It's a fantastic website for any of your clients that are struggling with money. And, you know, whether it's even people that are just going through a rough time, even if they're not in the low socioeconomic, but they've got a mortgage on their house and they're really, really struggling to make ends meet, this is great, because what it does is it provides recipe ideas, shopping lists for the week, and it actually tallies up the average cost per week that they're going to have to spend. And then with those items on the shopping list, what sort of recipes that they can make with that. It also has some great ideas for utensils. So some of my clients will say, well, I don't have an oven, or I don't have a garlic crusher, or I don't have that kind of fry pan. And it's got a list of, if you don't have a garlic crusher, you can use a knife and this is how you do it. So it's got really fantastic tips for people. So it eliminates all those barriers that people have got. And there's little articles like that, no money till payday and things like that, that are really relevant. Social influences. Social influences are quite big. So a lot of my clients in the past have just really struggled with that, in terms of they've got lots of dinners on, or there's always Friday night drinks, or they kind of think, well, if I have to lose weight, I'm never going to see my friends again, which is a massive, obviously, issue. So isolation, but it's not that way. In terms of what we're looking at, research published in the Journal of Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, there was 15 studies they looked at, and the interesting finding here was if participants knew others were making low kilojoule or high kilojoule food choices, they made similar choices. And even if they weren't with them as well, which is quite interesting. So we're really shaped by what people in our environment do. So that ties in with what we call the social norm. And that can be on, a small group of us, or it can actually be cultural as well. So what we see is socially appropriate. So, for example, in our country, it's still socially appropriate to walk around eating, having a snack. But in some countries, that's not socially appropriate. Some sort of foods are socially appropriate to eat, but others aren't. How fast we eat can be socially appropriate or not. So it's really interesting to sort of, for us, realise, what we're actually doing, and have a look at what of those social influences may be positive and which one of those aren't so positive. Obviously, with social influences, there's choice of venue as well. So if your group of friends love going to KFC all the time, that becomes, a little bit of an issue. But if they're going to choose a healthier restaurant, then obviously that's easier. Speed of eating companions. So we mimic other people. So if you've got someone in front of you who's, whether they're drinking alcohol or eating in there, or eating it really, really fast, we tend to think, oh, geez, okay, I have to do that too. So in terms of that, it's really interesting to be aware of that. If you are regularly socialising with people that or eat really fast, you're probably going to speed up your eating as well, or your drinking. Then there's length of time at venue. There's been a lot of research that has shown that the longer we actually spend in a place, sitting at a dinner table, the more we eat. We'll be sitting there and thinking, oh, yeah, okay, I'll have the dessert. Oh, yeah, I'll just pick it a little bit more of that cheese. So in terms of that, there's a strong correlation with, say, a 1, 2 or 3 hour. However, obviously the speed of eating and fast food is where it's not so beneficial. So what can we do? So you can create strategies with your clients to assist them manage these social influences, to stay on track. So the first thing you need to do is you need to brainstorm regular or upcoming social situations and create an individual plan for each of them, because there's going to be all different factors coming into each different social situation. So we're in a bit of a social situation at the moment at the conference. So there could be, and a lot of my clients have gone to conferences as well, so we do a conference plan before they go. We go, what's the food going to look like? Where are you staying? How do you suppose you're going to eat? How much alcohol are you going to consume? What's your plan during the conference, before the conference, and after the conference? Also, the really important thing is to evaluate their social network of people. So it helps to plan when and how you're going to spend time with others. So it doesn't mean, as I alluded to before, cutting out all of your friends, but more so being smart about how you spend time with your social network, particularly with clients that are starting to make some changes. So if you've got a weight loss client that's really, it's quite hard, they're really trying to put a lot of new skills into place, and then you throw them into an environment, a social environment where people are overeating, then it can actually cause them to go into a lapse, which may then go into a relapse and get them off track. So it's really about saying, okay, what does your social network look like? Where are the really positive supporting friends that eat well, exercise? When you are feeling particularly stressed or run down, trying to spend more time with those supportive people, than the people that perhaps aren't so helpful. Also, with the people that perhaps aren't a helpful influence, trying to do non-eating and drinking related activities. And even if it is a conversation that they have to have and say, look, I'm just really trying at the moment to get on track. I really want to hang out with you guys, but, can we meet up and do something that's not food related? Or, again, just be aware of how that person is feeling on a day-to-day basis. And if it's not feeling strong, then it's not a good idea to meet up with those sort of people. Also, definitely not a good idea to meet up with them when they're feeling really hungry. The other thing you can do is help clients to pre-regulate their consumption. So what I mean by that is, for example, if they know they're going to go to a restaurant that night, get online, have a look at the menu, go through it, make a healthy choice in advance. Because when you are in a situation at the restaurant, there are so many distractions going on. People are talking to you, trying to catch up, look at the menu. And when you're actually in that moment, you're hungry, so you're more likely to choose something that's high in energy. And again, you're distracted. So it's a lot of pressure for clients to make a choice on the spot in the restaurant. They've got some voices in their head going, oh, my personal trainer or my dietitian would really not like this, but that person's ordered chips. And there's too much for them to contend with at the time. So if you can pre-regulate that and they can plan and go, okay, I want to order this dish, when they come to the restaurant, it might not always happen, but it's much more likely for them to go, yeah, I know what I'm eating. I've already planned that. The other thing that they can do as well is set up some rules in advance. So, okay, what am I going to do at the restaurant? There's normally a choice of 3-course meals there and a bread roll. Okay, I'm not going to have the bread roll and I'm not going to order dessert. Or I'm going to just order a main meal and it has to be, at least half vegetables on the plate, so forth. But if they stick to a few things in their head like that, and that's particularly helpful if they can't access the menu too. So just try to say, okay, this is what it's got to look like. So then when they go to and see the menu, they've got an idea already set around what they've planned to do and they've just got to fit that mould. What else can they do? So one of the things they can do is keep pace with the slowest eater at the table. So it goes obviously along those lines of mimicking. So if you can sort of watch somebody else that takes their time with eating, and you generally know your friends that eat a little bit slower than your other friends. Aim to be the last person to start eating if possible. And choose your eating companions wisely. So some of those situations it's difficult to do that, but conference is a great example of that. If there's conference dinners going on as well, you can have a look at eating companions that are choosing more, or that that choose healthier options, and choose to sit with them in breaks, as opposed to other people that might go for less healthy options. That comes in with drinking alcohol as well, choosing to hang out with people at night time that are less likely to get on it, especially if you have to get up for an 8:30 a.m. session the next morning. The other thing that's quite powerful with our clients is thoughts. The way we think about a situation influences our behaviour. It's very powerful. So if we think, you know what, this is just too hard, it'll generally be too hard. If we think just having this once won't affect me, then we will have that and we'll justify that. If we think, I've really got to stay on track and this is great for my health and it's really important to me, it's more likely that we'll think in a situation, okay, well, what do I have to do to align with that thought? So with your clients, it's about working out what are the unhealthy thoughts that are leading to the unhealthy behaviours, and what are their healthy thoughts that are leading to the healthy behaviours. So even if it's around some of my clients, I'll just get them to try and notice that, or to actually write a journal and just track their thoughts, or I'll just check in with them. What are the thoughts that you've noticed that have led to unhealthy behaviour versus a healthy behaviour? And there's also triggers as well. So Unhelpful thoughts may have developed in response to a trigger event. So a really common trigger for clients is a stressful, tired day. And they think, oh, I've just had such a bad day. I really need that chocolate. I really need that treat meal. So it's not just the thoughts we've got to be aware of, it's what's preceding the thoughts. What are these triggers that are happening for our clients that are leading to these unhelpful thoughts, that are leading to their unhelpful behaviours? And conversely, what are the triggers that are leading to the helpful thoughts and the good behaviours? Say, for example, they meet up for a training session. That trigger of training and feeling fit may have gone, wow, I'm going to eat healthy today. Yep, I'm on track. I've done something good for my health, so I'm going to continue like that. But perhaps if they haven't met up with you for a long period of time, perhaps they've gone on holidays, it's not fresh of mind, there's lots of triggers in terms of being around different foods and experiences and people eating and drinking a lot again, the thoughts will go, oh, I'm on holidays, woo, doesn't matter. And that'll lead to overeating. And it's only when they come back that they might go, oh gosh, okay, what do I do about that? And again, there could be unhelpful thoughts coming in there from that experience too, or helpful thoughts. Unhelpful being, oh, what's the point? I've let it all go. Or obviously helpful, okay, I'm back on track here, I'm seeing my personal trainer again, let's go. What's really interesting too is unhelpful thinking patterns may have developed over time with clients, and particularly with our clients that have tried to diet for a long period of time or have been trying to lose weight for a long period of time. So things like black or white thinking, like, what's the point? You know, I've blown it now. I may as well just not think about it for the rest of the day. Or catastrophizing. So, for example, I'm just such a failure. I just can't do this. I never can do it. And in terms of that, that's obviously those unhelpful thoughts that are so big can lead to people obviously thinking that they can't even maintain a behaviour or start a behaviour. So what can you do? Obviously, it really is helping clients be aware of this. So you've really got to go, okay, what's going on at the moment? As I said before, listing all those triggers. And it's really important to list both the unhelpful triggers and the helpful triggers, because if you can replace some of the helpful triggers, replace the unhelpful triggers with the helpful triggers, then obviously you're going to get some good patterning over time. Moods and feelings. So thoughts and moods and feelings are quite intrinsically linked as well. So people commonly associate foods with moods and think about comfort eating. So we talked about a little bit of about that with thoughts, but when people are feeling, sad and stressed, then obviously they're going to look for foods and overeat. However, also really good feelings can also lead to overeating as well. You know, when we're celebrating and we're like, hey, woo, yeah, let's eat heaps, this is great, which isn't a problem if it's an occasional celebration. But if our clients are celebrating really often, that's when it becomes a problem. So that's when you have to sort of put strategies in place for, there might be environmental strategies, but also thinking strategies too. So not thinking that everything's a special occasion and Friday nights is a special occasion and so's Sunday lunches and so's Tuesday night dinners. Those special occasions really need to be special occasions. So just really in terms of moods and feelings, just letting your clients be aware, what are the moods that you've noticed that lead to these overeating or choosing the wrong choices? And how do you feel when you make good choices? Most of your clients will say when I feel calm and relaxed that they make good choices. But it's really good to obviously get them really aware of all those moods that aren't leading to good choices. Another thing is dietary preferences. So taste is consistently reported as a major influence in our choice. And it's actually rooted in our evolutionary past that we have a preference for sugar, fat and salt. So that's a little bit inconvenient with our current food supply. So in terms of what you do with your clients, it really is helping them to learn what healthy foods can taste good. But also, you've probably noticed with clients, it will take a bit of adjustment as well, particularly when clients are used to, say, a higher salt diet. I usually find it takes them about 3 to 4 weeks to adjust to a lower salt diet. So that's also letting your clients know that there is a period of adjustment, but also supporting them with how they can develop healthy foods. So there's the Eat for Health website has got some great ideas on how to make healthy eating tasty, and it's really client friendly as well, so you can download some of those resources. Knowledge. So new knowledge about the risks of current behaviour or the benefits of new behaviour can really increase motivation to change. So, for example, if people suddenly realise that there's something that they're doing that's associated with, say, a risk of a particular disease, and that is personally relevant to them, because sometimes people won't care. They'll be like, it won't happen to me. However, some people will think, okay, well, that happened to my father, or that happened to somebody I know, so perhaps there's something I should do about that. The benefits of new behaviours may motivate people to change. So when they learn that, so if I eat that way, I'm going to have more energy and feel better and be better at work. Okay, well, that makes sense. That's relevant to me. That's something I could get benefit from. So that's the real key here with knowledge. It's relevance too. You have to make it relevant to your client. Because the thing with us that we have to realise, as health professionals, we think health is really important. It's usually our number one priority. But with a lot of our clients, it's not their number one priority. Some of them it is, but some of it comes under family and work and other commitments. So when we're discussing nutrition, it really has to be something that they feel is important to them and is going to make a change for their life and probably help them out with all those other priorities. So how is this going to make me a better mother, a better father, a better employee? Okay, so in terms of summarising this, new information can increase the importance of making a change due to these reasons. So desire to avoid risk or danger, malalignment with their values or vision. So if they see themselves a certain way or they have a vision of how healthy they're going to be and there's no alignment with that, new information that aligns with that can suddenly motivate them. Fear of consequences of current behaviour or benefits of new behaviour. So this takes us to values. So what are they? They're principles, standards or qualities that people hold in high regard. So you all have a set of values that you try to live by. You hope that your work would be aligned with your values, and I'm sure it is for you guys, because that makes you feel happy. It makes you feel at peace that you're on the right track and you're being true to who you are. If you're not living by your values, you generally don't feel happy, you feel uncomfortable, you feel like you have to make some changes to get back in line with your values. So this can be really important for your clients if you identify what their values are with them, and then any behaviours that are not aligned with their values, that can really increase motivation to change. Can you read that? Yeah, you can. Vinny? Yep. So understanding a person's values can be really useful in finding out what's important to your client, the motivations your client has for change, the path towards change that will be most compatible with your client's values. So really that's your approach. So if they're a client that says, one of my values is to learn, then they're going to really want more information. If one of their values is to be a role model for their children, for example, then their behaviours, say their eating behaviours or their exercise behaviours, they want those sort of behaviours to be a good example for their kids. For example, if they want to be a leader as well, they want to behave in a way that will inspire other people. So this stuff can be really powerful with your clients. What happens if they're not aligned? If they contradict longer term values, it exerts a powerful influence on motivation to change. People think, you know what, I'm not living by my values here. So it can make people feel quite uncomfortable. which again, obviously can push them to feel like they want to change. Beliefs. So an internal feeling that something is true, even though that belief may be unproven or irrational. So, an example is, alcohol won't affect the health of someone like me because I'm fit and I do other things that are really great. I've been told my whole life I'll die young because my father died young, so I probably will. So these beliefs aren't necessarily true, but a person has held these beliefs for a long period of time. Sometimes they're not even aware of these beliefs and that their beliefs are having an influence on their behaviour. When they actually realise that, it can be really quite powerful. They can think, oh gosh, well, I don't know that that belief is rational and that that belief is actually helping me in my life. Other people are aware of their beliefs, but again, they sort of believe the beliefs. So it's perhaps looking at some of those other factors of whether we can challenge those beliefs or not. There's lots of models, behaviour change models, that explain people's decisions or their beliefs and how that impacts behaviour. I'm going to go through just two of those models. Firstly, the cognitive dissonance model. People seek internal consistency between their beliefs, attitudes, and behaviour. So, for example, even if it's not necessarily benefiting them, if they can seek that consistency, then they can feel comfortable. So, for example, yeah, well, I exercise so I can eat whatever I want. And that's consistency, because you think, well, yeah, I've done one thing, and my belief is that that has actually allowed me some scope to do something else. What's really interesting is when people realise this inconsistency. It's a really uncomfortable state that leads people to try to reduce this dissonance and achieve consonance. So how they can do that is they can change their attitude, behaviour, or beliefs. So, for example, if they realise, for example, their values are out of whack with their behaviours, they can change the behaviour so they can start eating more healthily. They can change their belief, thinking, oh, well, that eating won't really impact me that much because my whole family's been healthy. So it might go in the right direction, or they may just create a belief that justifies the behaviour. They can acquire new information that outweighs the dissonance beliefs. So, for example, a woman that's pregnant and still drinking a little bit of alcohol, and she's feeling a bit uncomfortable with this. But then she reads an article online that says, well, there's not a lot of evidence, that really hard evidence, that a little bit of alcohol does damage. So she thinks, oh, great, excellent. I'm going to hold that piece of information as now my new belief, and now that justifies my behaviour. Excellent, I feel good again. You can also reduce the importance of your beliefs as well. So even if you believe it's really important to exercise, you can think, well, you know what? It's not that important because I kind of move around a lot during the day. So I guess that's really having an impact, and I guess the importance isn't, it's not that great. So there's all different ways that people can reach that comfortable state. Some of them are positive, some are not so positive. But it's a really interesting thing to explore with your clients. There's another model called the health belief model. And this is based on the concept that an individual's perceptions motivate their behaviour. So how they perceive their susceptibility to that problem. So that whole, it won't happen to me, or I don't think I'm susceptible to getting cancer. The perceived seriousness of the consequences of the problem. Oh, I know someone that got that, but they were all right. It didn't really affect them that much. The perceived benefits of specific action. So if I actually make that change, how much is that actually going to benefit me? Is it going to make much difference? Am I going to see a benefit? and the perceived barriers to taking action as well. So that whole thing we alluded to before, it looks too hard, there are too many barriers in the way, I don't want to approach it. However, that's obviously where we can come in. So if we can work with these perceptions and say, okay, well, is barriers the issue for you? What are the barriers that you're seeing? A, B, and C. Okay, well, what can we do around that barrier? What's a plan that we can do to, address that barrier? And the same thing with the other things too, the susceptibility of the problem. So have a look and, it might be a referral back to their doctor, but perhaps you want to, check with your doctor how susceptible you actually are in terms of your family history and so forth. These are the statistics with it. I mean, all we can do is provide information. Yet again, our job isn't there to push and pressure, but it's literally just to say, okay, these are the facts, this is where we sit at the moment, support, and the client has to make their own decision about whether they're going to change, which I'm going to get to in a second. Skills, say organisation and planning. So a cross-sectional European study of 1,000 adults found one of the most frequently perceived behaviours to healthy eating was lack of time. And I'm sure you guys have heard that again and again, as have I. However, the truth of the matter is thinking ahead and planning meals is key to gaining more time to eat healthily. And we know that because when people are organised and they've done it for the week, there's healthy food in there ready to go. If you're in a routine, it does actually obviously create more time for you at the end of the day than having to rush home and wonder about what we're going to eat and how we're going to do it. A really good tool to direct your clients to is the Eat for Health website here, where they've got a lot on meal planning, and they've actually got how to do it, sample meal plans, lots of ideas for clients to feel like it's not going to take them a lot of time, and it actually is going to be simple. So, the aforementioned factors can have a powerful influence on whether our clients will make nutrition changes. And one of the big reasons is, as I mentioned before, it affects their self-efficacy, which is their confidence in their ability to make changes, and the importance. How important is it for them to make a change? How much difference will they see in their life? And obviously timing's a factor in there too. Sometimes the timing's not right for clients and we have to respect that and just work until they become a little bit more relaxed and then say, okay, is the timing right now? So, has anyone seen this concept before? A few nods, some yes, some no. Yep. So, confidence and importance influence readiness to change nutrition. So this is a concept developed by motivational interviewing specialists Bill Miller and William Rolnick. And really importance is about why should I change? How would things be better if I did change? And confidence is how will I do it and can I do it? So these are the questions that will be going through your client's head before they're making a change, during making a change, and also maintaining that change as well. So that brings me to, is your client ready to make nutrition changes? So people will vary in their readiness to make nutrition changes. For example, some clients will be ready to focus on nutrition. Some will be thinking about it, so they're contemplating it, but they're not quite sure. Some of your clients won't be ready. They'll be like, I just want to focus on fitness. That's enough for me right now. I can't deal with thinking about nutrition as well. And some of your clients will already be making changes to nutrition. Some will be trying to maintain those changes. And some may have relapsed and they've made changes in the past, but they've gone back to their old habits. So it's really important to respect the fact that your clients will be at all different stages of change. Have you guys seen Stages of Change model? Yeah, so that's what this concept's all about. It's a really popular model that we use in practice. And it really, really helps to work out where your clients are at. So if they're in pre-contemplation stage, they're not really thinking about making changes yet. So it's not really helpful to push Okay, are you thinking about nutrition? Yeah, what can we do about nutrition? It'll be really helpful for you to make some nutrition changes, because that person thinks, I'm not ready. Why are you talking to me about this right now? It's not relevant to me right now. I don't want to do it. I don't have time. So you're more likely to get someone offside if you push someone that's in pre-contemplation. It doesn't mean you can't mention it though, but if you get a no, not ready, that's when you're like, okay, no worries. Well, how about you let me know when you're ready to talk about it again, or are you happy for me to check in with you in 3 months' time and see if you're ready? Okay, great, fantastic. Contemplation is obviously when people are starting to think about it, and there'll be different levels of contemplation. So some clients will be like, oh, I've just started thinking about it. I heard someone that, perhaps they had a heart attack, or perhaps they've just started getting older and they think, oh, I better look at my nutrition. Other people have been thinking about it for a while. Like, this is something I've really been investigating. They might start asking you questions like, I've been thinking about changing nutrition. What do you think? How do other clients go about it? Then the next stage will be preparation or determination, where clients are actually actively preparing to make a change. So they might have already gone out and bought some recipe books. They might have already been reviewing healthy ideas. They might have actually already gone out and done a healthy shop or tried to attempt one. So they're really quite keen. And this is the stage we see a lot of clients at, I think. They've been thinking about it for a while, and they come and see us because they're like, okay, I really don't know how to start. So can I have some support? In terms of action, we might get clients that are already making changes as well. And for them, it's really about sticking with the changes. And often it's quite difficult, particularly if they're in the early stages of action, because there's a lot going on. So for us, it's really about supporting and simplifying the messages for them and helping them stay on track. They might be maintenance phase, which is usually after 6 months of action, we say maintenance. So they've been doing things for a while and they just want to stay on track. So here you'll either get clients progressing and maintaining those changes, or you may get a lapse or a relapse. So it's still a delicate stage in maintenance because they're just trying to really stick with what they've learned. So the other thing that's really important is your approach with clients. And I think this is absolutely key to building a good relationship with your clients and helping them get results. So a traditional approach we had was advice giving and knowledge dispensing. There's 2 problems with this. Evidence shows it's rarely information alone that motivates people to change. And I learnt this very early on back in university when I graduated back in 2002, and I'm that old. And I went out there and we were taught as dietitians that we just had to give someone information, and it was facts and meal plans and so forth. But I learnt really quickly it didn't work, because clients were at all these different stages of change. They had all these different influences going on. And if you just hand someone some information, you say, this is what you have to do, and they're in pre-contemplation or contemplation, and they have lots of those influencing factors going on, they're going to be like, what are you doing? I don't want your meal plan. And you break that relationship down with them, and they think, they don't understand me. I don't want to go to that health professional anymore. The other thing too is to ensure safe practice. The expert nutrition advice should only be dispensed by those who have relevant nutrition qualifications as well. So in terms of staying in scope, traditional approach is quite dangerous, because when you're advice giving, it means you can often go out of scope of practice and say things that perhaps aren't safe for the client. So what's the answer to all of this? A nutrition coaching approach. So I'm going to explain what that is, in case you don't know. Have you guys actually heard about nutrition coaching before? Yep, so you might have heard some lectures about it before. Okay, so in terms of research and how it's backed up, there's an increasing number of research studies and reviews that provide evidence for a coaching approach with changing nutrition and health. And what it does is it involves skills and strategies to motivate clients to change nutrition and helps you stay in scope as well. It's absolutely fantastic. I'm passionate about it. I've done coaching for years combined with dietetics. And for me, it was the key in creating change with my clients. So what is it? It's about a partnership. It's about a collaboration between you and your client. It's no longer you being the expert and them just receiving the information or advice. We have to have an attitude of acceptance and empathy. So really trying to understand where your clients are coming from and empathising. And as I said, their priorities and their agenda is always going to be, different to ours. Every individual is different. Putting the client first and giving priorities to their concerns. If we put our agenda first and what we think is important, it's not respecting the client, and it doesn't have that attitude of acceptance, empathy and partnership. We have to encourage clients to produce their own arguments for change and ways of achieving it. So we really have to get them to evoke that. Because if you think about it, if someone tells you what to do and says, I think you should do that, it's not as powerful as you coming up with, what would really work for me? If I did, A, B and C, I really think that's really important to me. Because that's so relevant to you, you're going to be more likely to want to try at it and achieve it. Also asking more open questions and allowing the client to talk. So in reality, we shouldn't be doing much talking. They should be doing the majority of the talking. So we have to ask smart questions to get them to discover their own reasons for change. And that's how we get them to evoke their own arguments. So an example is, say, is nutrition important to you? That's a closed question. Most people will say yes, some people say no, but it's a closed question. So you don't get a lot of information out of that question. However, if you say, in what ways is nutrition important to you? Then someone might say, well, yeah, it's important in the way that I think it would give me more energy. And I know that fruits and vegetables are important. And when I ate a good diet about a year ago, I was feeling great and da-da-da-da-da. So they'll give you a real story and you'll actually understand where that person's at. And it's beautiful because without even having to ask, oh, what stage of change are you at? You actually get that information. You'll be like, oh, they said last year that they ate healthily. That means they've tried it before. Sounds like they're telling me that they're not doing it at the moment. They might have lapsed a bit. So you're really getting a picture from asking these open questions. And the client feels like they're being listened to, supported, and that it's a partnership. The other thing is affirming the client's behaviours is really important because, people, when they feel good, they feel more confident. So if we say, oh, that's fantastic, like that you brought your lunch in 5 days a week, that's great, you're really on track. Someone goes, yeah, I'm on track. Yeah, that is fantastic. I feel pretty good about me. I'm going to keep doing that. So it's really, really important. I mean, I think as health professionals, a lot of us are good at affirming. However, it is something that we know works with confidence. So keep it up. Reflective listening. You guys know about reflective listening? Yeah. So if you've actually done any health coaching or motivational interviewing, you might have heard of reflective listening. So what that is it's simply a reflection of what your client is saying. It's a statement, not a question. So, for example, someone says, oh, I really want to change nutrition, but I'm really tired and I don't have the time. A simple reflection would be, you're really tired and you don't have the time, and yet you want to change nutrition. The person says, yeah, I do want to change it because it's really important that da-da-da-da-da-da. So what it does is it drives the conversation forward and that person naturally keeps talking. So they naturally will keep telling you their story. Now, with reflective listening, you can do it in all sorts of ways. So that's a very simple reflection where you're literally just reflecting it back. But you can do things called, I've forgotten the actual term of this. It's basically a double reflection. I can't remember the term. Double reflection, where someone gives you two sides of an argument. Say if they're not sure whether they want to change nutrition. So it's called double-sided reflections. Yes, that's right. So someone will say to you, it's really really hard at home because there's lots of chips around. However, I want to stay on track. So a double-sided reflection is presenting two sides of the argument. So it's on one hand, there's lots of chips at home, and on the other hand, you really want to stay on track. And the key here is to put the what we call the change talk, the positive part, on the end, because they will naturally continue on with the conversation. Yeah, I really want to stay on track because it's So the way in which we reflect is quite powerful at how we drive the conversation forward. There's also an exaggerated type of reflection you can do too. So if someone says, I don't want to change nutrition because I don't think it's ever going to affect me. Changing nutrition will never affect your health. That's an exaggerated reflection in the way that someone goes, oh, well, I don't think it will never affect my health. And they provide their own argument for moving forward and creating change. So, I mean, I could do a whole lecture on reflective listening, but I won't. However, I have been helping write a course at the moment called Nutrition Coaching through the Institute. So there's a lot of this in that. Or come and ask me more questions later and we can practice reflective listening together. Okay, another thing is summarising. Summarising is really important too because, one, it helps clarify understanding between you and the client. Sometimes your clients will say something, but they actually don't really mean it as well. And sometimes we hear something, but we're not hearing really the right thing. We don't really understand what's going on for them. So if we're able to summarise properly and clarify and repeat it back to the client, they can say, well, yeah, no, I didn't actually mean that. I meant that. And that's okay. Sometimes we get it wrong. We don't have to be right all the time. And this is what this is about. It's not about us being right and the experts. It's about us really supporting and helping someone and really understanding what's important for them. The other thing with summarising, it's a really neat way to move on as well. So summarising it, say, have I got everything here? Do I understand right now everything that's going on with you? Are you happy to move forward to talk about A, B and C? And again, that's when the client will say, yeah, I'm happy, you've got it all. Great, fantastic. Yeah, let's talk about the next thing. The other thing is planning and goal setting in nutrition coaching. And this is really, really important only if a client is ready to plan and goal set. If you've got a client in contemplation, they're probably not ready to set a goal with you. However, having said that, sometimes in a consultation, someone will move from contemplation to preparation, and that's great. You can start setting goals with them. But if they're still sitting in the whole, I still just don't know. And that's okay. We don't have to push clients to change. It's up to them. So if they don't change, then it's their decision to change. We're there to help them, but we don't have to solve their problems for them, and that's not really our role. And really we'd get stressed out if that's our role all the time. So in terms of planning and goal setting though, it's effective planning and effective goal setting that's important. So when we set a goal, SMART goals are obviously really important. Are you guys aware of SMART goals? I think most of you would be aware of SMART goals. Yeah, specific, achievable, realistic, time-bound. And obviously that's important because I want to lose weight. Sits up in the air, floating around, who knows when, how, what, why. Those New Year's Eve goals are pointless that a lot of people make because they're not smart. But having said that, after about 10 tequilas, they probably don't want to sit down and write a SMART goal. Planning is really important as well. So having an effective plan to back up your SMART goal. So what that looks like is, how is it going to happen? How am I going to remember to do this? What support do I need to achieve this goal? So is there someone in my family that can help support me with this goal? Do I have someone in the workplace that will be supportive? What would get in the way of this goal over the next week? So having a look at barriers as well. So for example, a common one when people are starting to exercise is they'll be like, if it's raining, I won't do it. So what can you do if it's raining? Yeah, I can wear a raincoat, I can go to the gym, I can do something inside, I can, do my exercises that my PT told me to do that I'm not doing. So that's a really important piece, I think, when you're doing goal setting, because what happens is the world happens. When people leave us, the world happens. And if there isn't plans in place for what can come up and how they're actually going to do it, that goal might not happen. And they might come back to you and say, I don't know what happened. Like, we set a goal, but I don't know, I just got busy and I got distracted. Yeah. So, but if you've actually got something set in stone with them and they've written out their SMART goal and their action plan, they've got that in front of them, they can tick the things off. I put it in my Outlook calendar, tick. I told my partner, tick. I put some tracking on the fridge so I could tick off the days when I did it. I did my shop on Sunday, tick. So if we have a look at the original traditional ineffective approach of health professionals versus the nutrition coaching approach. So traditionally, personal trainer or other health professional was the expert in the consultation. We had rigid standard solutions. We advised the patient or client what to do. We talked more than the client because we were the expert. We knew more. There was information and goal overload. Here you go, this is all this information that I learned. Boom, here, have it. And see what you can do with it. And how come you didn't achieve it next week? I gave you all that information. We chose the goals we thought were important for the client. Well, I know that, this part of nutrition is really important and you need to do this, so this is the goal for you, bang. And then we wonder why there's so many people that it's not working for. If we look at the flip side, the nutrition coaching approach, the client is speaking more than the personal trainer. There's individually tailored solutions. And if you have a look at what I've just covered, it has to be individual. There are so many factors. There's different stages of change. People work in such different ways that one solution doesn't fit all. We really need to understand our clients really well to create effective change with them. We have to respect them as an expert in their own life. We may have the health expertise, but they have the themselves expertise. And we really need to marry both of this to get results. The client has to choose their own goals, strategies and tasks. We can obviously help in terms of information, but we need to offer it. We need to say, and particularly if they're confused, I don't know what to do. Would you like me to go through some other goals and some information that I've talked about with my clients that had similar concerns to you? And that's when a client can say, yeah, that'd be great. And we can say, okay, well, what happened is this client had, wanted to lose weight and they went along this path. This seemed to work for them. Might not work for you, but is that something you're willing to try? Yeah, okay, I'll give it a go. So it's not saying we can't do that, but we really need to, it's our approach, again, how we do it that's effective. Barriers to change, we need to address those as well. So a nutrition coaching approach we need, which I've gone over before, it's essential because things happen in life. And we really need to effectively tailor our approach to each client's stage of change. So you've got all the nutrition coaching skills there. We've identified the stage of change. Then you have to tailor your approach in how you actually communicate. So this is about what you say with each client who's in a different stage of change. So you have the pre-contemplative client. So this is usually a discussion about the client's nutrition concerns or lack thereof. So it may be something like, have you considered changing nutrition? Just a simple question like that. And they can sort of say, oh, yeah, or no, not really. Okay, that's all right. And that's where you can leave it. You can say, okay, well, if you want to, I'm always here if you want to chat. It may be appropriate if they say, oh, I've sort of thought about it, but not really. It's not really right for me. You can say things like, okay, well, if you want to do your own research in your own time, then the Australian Dietary Guidelines are there. The Eat for Health program is a great resource. And if you've got any questions, you can always, obviously I'm always here to answer them. So it's not about pushing, it's just respecting. You can bring up the topic, but you really need to gauge what answer you're getting. Then you'll have the clients that are contemplating change and they'll be weighing up the pros and cons of their nutrition behaviours. And what we really need to respect here is there's obviously pros of what they're doing right now, otherwise they would have changed already. So they may really love eating big meals at night time and they do it with the family. And that's part of what they do. It's an enjoyable social occasion. However, the con is that they are gaining weight. They're not feeling, they're feeling sluggish in the morning. They know that it's not really where they want to be long term. But they're weighing up both sides of the situation because essentially by changing, they feel like they're going to experience a loss. And when we feel like we're going to experience a loss, it is uncomfortable. We feel like we've got to give something up. So there are tools we can do here with people that are contemplating, and one tool that you might have heard about is decisional balance. Some people may have. So what you do with clients is you talk about those pros and cons of where they are now, and that really helps them realise that you respect their decisions at the moment. Because if you're only providing an argument for change, what do you think the client does naturally? They provide the other side of the argument, because that's naturally what we do. If someone says to us, hey, you really think, you need to stop drinking coffee, you'd be like, but why? I like my coffee in the morning. It's a natural human reaction to provide balance. So as a health professional, if we respect that and we say, okay, look, I understand there's probably great things about what you're doing now and there's not so great things. Do you want to explore that? And then we can also explore, if you did change, what that would look like, what the pros of changing are and what the cons of changing would be. And what that exercise can really do is a lot of people haven't actually gone through that process. And they can look at that. And sometimes that's enough for people to go, oh, actually, you know what? I think there's enough pros of change for me to move forward. Other times it's just a fantastic exercise of working out what the barriers are. And then that provides a good step for the next part of your conversation. You can say, okay, there's a few barriers there for change. So you feel like you're going to have to give that up. Why do you feel like you're going to have to give it up? Do you think you'll actually have to give it up when you start eating healthier options at night time? Are you going to have to give up the family situation and so forth? So you can really start talking through all those things that have come up. And the client might say, oh, well, actually, I didn't see it that way. Like perhaps I can still eat with the family, but perhaps I'll just give myself a smaller portion and have salad on the side. This is just an example. But that conversation obviously is really important because people can really sort of see what's going on. And sometimes, though, they might just still be stuck in contemplation. If you think about yourselves, is there something that you've been thinking about changing for a long period of time and you still haven't changed? Yeah, a lot of us are like that. It might even be years that you still haven't changed it. Because you're probably stuck in this sort of situation where there's pros and cons of what you're doing right now, and you might be scared of that loss. So it could be even a good exercise. I do it myself. Where you just write it down, the pros and cons of now and the pros and cons of change, and then work out what your barriers are there. The other client is the client that is preparing to change. So they might have already been setting some goals, they might have been going out and shopping. The aim with them is to really sort of explore this with them. So what are you preparing to change exactly? What does that look like for you? This is where you can have a look at vision. Where do you want to go? How do you see yourself after you've made these changes? Which is really, really powerful. This is a really good place to set up a vision for where this person is going, because that will, as you get micro, when you're making changes, you get quite micro. So it might be like, I'm going to make sure that I have an extra piece of fruit every day, which sometimes cannot be that motivating when you're going along making changes. It's like, why was I doing that again? But if you've got a really powerful vision of where you're heading, and some people actually like to do this with visuals, like pictures of where they want to head. Other people just like to write down their vision, and that keeps us going in the long term. And it's helpful as a personal trainer or dietitian that you can have that vision as well with your client handy, in case you can say, should we revisit your vision? Where you're going. Let's remember, where we're heading towards and where you'd like to be. Here it's where you do the SMART goal setting and the action plan stuff. So this is really where your client really needs that support in how they're going to start. And it's crucial that you do really good planning and goal setting here, because these people are usually excited, they want to get stuck into it, they want to see results. So if we can set this up the best way from the beginning, they're more likely to get results. You may have clients in an action stage, so they're already making those changes. So the aim here is to provide that positive feedback. So those affirmations are really important to keep people on track. Ensure that they have adequate support in place, because they're still, trying to obviously make these changes stick. Check in with their influences again. So they could be, creating these changes, but if you don't know what's going on with those influences we talked about, then that can be what can trigger a client to lapse or relapse. So it's a really good idea that you've got all that mapped out so they can put plans in place, whether it's that social strategies that they need to put in place to stay on track, whether it's having a look at their thoughts and that their thoughts are positive to keep these behaviours going. Maintenance. So as I said before, this is a behaviour that they've been doing for at least 6 months. And the aim here again is affirmations are still really important. They stay on track. Discuss what's working for them to stay on track. So they're really aware of all the key things that they're actually doing that are creating this positive change. Identify triggers here too. So you would have done this a little bit already in action stage, but again, see, is there anything, I always do this with my maintenance clients, is there anything coming up in the next few weeks that could be a trigger, that could get you off track? And it's really important to ask that question with your clients, because suddenly they'll go, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, I'm going away for work for 2 weeks to the US. And I hear that and I'm going, oh no, really? The US for 2 weeks? Okay, what can we do about that? And so we start actually putting in a bit of a plan for this that's going to throw them off track, even though they're in this great maintenance phase. But I've seen it before where they go away, come back, I'm not doing anything that we've talked about, and I feel terrible about myself, and they've gone back in a stage of change and they've put on weight and so forth. So really kind of in maintenance, it is kind of going, what's coming up for you? Is there anything coming up? And I literally ask this at every consultation with my maintenance clients. Is there anything we need to workshop that's coming up? Relapse. So what can happen with clients is they can experience lapses in their behaviour and they can get back on track again after a lapse. But sometimes the lapse will lead to more lapses, which leads to a relapse, which is a complete going back to old habits. And sometimes you might not see that a client again for 3-6 months, so forth. Sometimes they're brave and they come back in after a month or so and say, yeah, I haven't been here because I haven't been so good. And that's when you can say, all right, what happened? What were the lapses? And identifying all those triggers. So what we talked about before, but you've got to go back and go, what was the triggers for the lapses and that led to this relapse? And also the really important thing, most people come in, their confidence isn't great after a relapse. They're a bit like, oh, I don't feel good about myself. Why did I do it? I should have had more willpower, yada, yada, yada. So the important thing here to go is, hey, you know what? No one's perfect. This happens to the best of us. This is a learning experience. I always say to my clients, please, this is a learning, this is a discovery, this is a journey. You're understanding more about yourself and you're understanding what are the things that lead to you going off track. And that's great, you learned something new. Wow, you've had a relapse, but look at all that information you've got now. You realise now all those things that led to that. So you're much less likely for it to happen in the future. If you think about people that are quitting smoking, usually it takes quite a few attempts of them lapsing, but they start learning all those triggers. Okay, when I'm at the pub and everyone's drinking, I reach for a cigarette. That is a trigger. So the same thing with eating. They start realising what are all those triggers that made me lapse. So then you'll revisit usually their vision to say, okay, let's go back to what your original vision was. How do you feel about that? Yeah, I feel good, but okay, still a bit worried. Okay, what can we do? Let's think about your strengths, because their confidence levels are usually not great at this point in time. So if you talk to someone about, okay, what are the strengths you have that have helped you achieve your goals in the past, have helped you achieve, even if it's work success. So sometimes they don't want to talk about health and nutrition at that phase. So you can just say, okay, what are your strengths in life? And when people start saying, oh, well, I usually give things a go and I'm determined, and they usually list quite a few strengths that will correlate with whether they can make changes in health and nutrition as well. And this can be quite powerful because when they actually start listing strengths, people automatically start feeling better about themselves. They start going, oh, well, I'm not that bad. I can do this and I'm that. And you say, yeah, that's great. You are. And you affirm, you are determined. You are this. And I've seen that when I've been working with you. You've achieved A, B and C. Oh, yeah, I have, yep. And now you've learnt even more about yourself. So what are the next steps we can do to get you back to that vision? And then they start going, well, I know that when I was doing my healthy shopping, I was organising my meals on Saturday, that really worked for me. Okay, great, all right. Do you want to go back to that then? Yeah. And then you start doing the goal setting and the action planning and so forth. But checking in with people as well. So continue to check in that they're ready. Do you feel ready to do this? Do you feel confident you can start doing this again? If they feel, and then if they think, oh, I don't know, you can say, well, this is something smaller that we can work on first. Do you think you work on having a half plate of vegetables at night time? Yeah, I can probably achieve that. So that checking in is really, really important, particularly if someone's relapsed and the confidence is low. You've got to get them to a point where they feel like, okay, yeah, no, I'm feeling good again. I'm feeling confident. Yeah, I definitely think I can do that. So this is the gold shot. These are your keys to positively influencing client nutrition choices. So I've summarised everything on a slide for you. So if you fell asleep the whole time, you're just woken up, then this slide's the one for you. So the first one is a nutrition coaching approach with your clients. Determine each client's stage of change. Tailor your approach to their stage of change. Collaboratively investigate influences on their nutrition behaviours. Ask your clients to choose a nutrition change that is most important to them and one they feel most confident about starting. Assist your clients to set up a goal, action plan with method of tracking and a review date, and check in with how they're feeling about their nutrition goal. So even after you've gone through everything, check in. Like, say, okay, we've talked about this today. How are you feeling? Like if you got started as planned today, how confident are you that you could stick with this goal? Does this goal still feel important to you in terms of what you want to achieve? Sometimes you have clients saying no. Sometimes you have clients going, I don't know, because there's a lot going on in the next few days. And that's when you go, ooh, okay. Let's take a step back. Does this feel like too much for you to handle straight away? Say, yeah, a bit. What about if we worked on a smaller goal? Or what if we worked on whatever you discussed earlier? What if we work on a piece of fruit? Okay. Yeah, I could do that. Even though it's busy, I think I could do that. So that's when you've got, yeah, okay, confidence is up. Or if they say, I don't even know that this is going to, it's not that important. I don't think it's really going to have an impact. That's when you haven't obviously tailored something that's really, for them, that relevant and important. So you think, okay, well, what do you think would make an impact for you? So really important to keep checking in. Obviously, it's better if you've done it earlier on, but having said that, people go through processes when you goal set. And some people don't actually have that self-awareness where they think, they think maybe this is something that they should be doing or the doctor told them to do it. So that check-in's crucial. Then obviously reviewing the goals and plans at the time is necessary because there might be something in the plan that's not so, that might be affecting the confidence and importance, but also that reviewing goals and plans on an ongoing basis as well. So when they come back in again, how did you go with the goal? If it was, oh yeah, great, that's fantastic, you've probably got the right goal and plan, but a little bit, but I struggled with some days. That's when you might review the plan or the goal and make some tweaks. Or no, it just didn't work for me. That's when collaboratively you guys didn't come up with the right plan and goal. And it's always, and that's the message with the clients too, that it is a collaboration, and sometimes as a partnership you'll get it right. Sometimes, you won't get it all right. Sometimes you guys won't hit the mark, and it's just about reviewing it, coming back and getting a plan. But that's why it's important, that message with your client, that it is trial and error, But the whole fantastic thing, actually, the whole purpose and the whole fantastic thing is that the client is always learning and always moving forward. Even if they have a relapse or a lapse, they're always learning something about themselves, never going backwards. And that's really powerful when clients realise that. They're not a failure. They just perhaps haven't got the goal right, the plan right, or there's been some influencing factors we haven't looked at. So on that note, any questions? Yes. Oh.
Are there any DVDs or videos that sort of show clients that help in motivating them or giving them ideas on how to change it? Is there anything available? Sort of, or it's just up to you to follow the system? Some educational sort of materials.
It depends on what the client's after, yeah, because...
Is there anything at all that's around?
Well, we've got the Eat for Health website, but it's more of an information type resource. It's really about, I think, your relationship with the clients more so than anything, because, usually you've got to really tailor things so specifically to clients. There's a lot of resources for you guys out there. I mean, I alluded to one that I'm writing the nutrition coaching course at the moment, but there's also online, there's motivational interviewing, information, there's papers you can read, books on coaching and MI.
I'm doing the precision, I'm sure you know precision nutrition.
Oh, yeah.
I'm doing their level 2 course, which only just came out. I've got one guy who's extremely frustrated. So that says, look, he's pretty big.
Yeah.
He's been with me for over a year. And obviously I've got to make some changes in myself when I'm coaching him, because he lost 3.5 kilo in a year. So for me it was extremely frustrating. I tried a lot of different things. He said, look, you should be happy. With the previous personal trainer, I didn't lose anything. So I'm quite happy with myself. And
there you go. You've just got the key. He's happy. So the interesting thing... Yeah, but it's not...
I don't think deep down he's happy.
What were we going to say?
It's about the client.
It's about the client, absolutely. If you think deep down he's not happy then, but it's about asking those questions. So the more you feel like you're not happy, he will feel that and he'll actually defend his weight loss. He'll actually say, well, I've lost 3.4 kilograms. So he's actually defending the argument. But as soon as we take a step back and it's not an emotional detachment as such, but it is really trying to not put our expectations on the client so much in our agenda. We have an idea of how much weight loss we'd like to see and where we'd like our clients to see, where we'd like them to be, but that's all really about us and that's not about them. So we obviously are there to look after their health, and I know that drives us because we have that whole, we want to help people. It's what we do. We want people to be healthy. So it's not about not caring about our clients. We do really empathise and we care with them, but it's more about, okay, so you're happy, and this can be quite powerful too. So you're happy with the 3.4 kilogram loss and you're doing well. Yeah, I'm happy with it. Is there anything, you still want to change or what's not working for you? But you've got to start definitely about asking them the questions so that they can start evoking their own arguments for change. And that's the thing. It's probably more those motivational interviewing skills that are going to be key with your client, or that reflective listening and open questioning and things like that. But it'll also be a process. Some clients it's a really long process working with them. But yeah, it's all that sort of respectful and in my approach, I guess, that'd be effective. Yeah. Sorry. Oh, sorry, Claire, do you next?
The stages of change, the pre-contemplation, contemplation.
Yeah.
I don't know about anyone else, but I have a lot of experience with clients that will say, yes, I want to change, but they mean no. And being such a literal person, it's taken me many sessions to work that out.
Yeah.
Is there a way you can frame your questions, or how can you learn it a little sooner?
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, well, I don't know how to get around it. It's not till a month or two down the track that I realise the client's giving me lip service and really isn't that interested, and I can let it go. I've learnt that much. But being so literal, I always take what they say at face value. Is there a technique to understanding their true position?
I think the open questioning and the reflective listening again is really powerful here, because it's more about are there elements of nutrition that are important to you, or what, I'm not sure which one. Are you talking about weight loss or nutrition or exercise or anything? Combination of both?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be anything, but like they'll say to you, you know, what do you want to achieve?
Yeah.
You know, why have you come to see me? And they will say, I want to achieve this, this, and this.
Yeah.
And we talk about, you know, like I've been with clients for 12, 14 years now.
Yeah.
In the beginning, it was very, you know, a dictatorship.
Mm.
And I did learn how to elicit better responses.
Yeah.
But like even now, I still fumble.
Yeah.
When I hear them say this, and this, and then the week goes past and there's very little change.
I think one of the powerful things too is when we usually say, what do you want to achieve? People actually don't go up here with vision and values. They go here and they say, I want to lose weight, or I want to get more energy. But what's more powerful is when we go up higher and say, why? Why do you want to lose weight? And so, you know,
So more questions.
More questions, more opening questions. Yeah, you definitely need to, especially initially. I have my initial sessions with my clients, and they can take from an hour and a half to 2 hours with my clients, and it's just lots of really understanding them and asking lots of questions. But I mean, having said that, if you've got short times, you can, you know, not 1.5 hours to 2 hours, you can still do it with a lot of those open questions, where it is sort of saying, okay, yeah, why is this important to you? What are your values? What do you want to achieve in life? And sometimes they think, why are you asking me this? But if you say, look, this is really important because what you're doing here and your behaviours are going to affect these things up here. What were you going to say? You going to add to that?
Because I used to do personal trainer, and I gave it up for a couple of years. I used to get so frustrated because they tell you all the time, I want to lose weight, and then you get to Monday morning and they're like, oh yeah, I hope it's when you're sick. And then you're like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
So when I realized, I did the IAN course,
Oh,
I
yeah.
graduated from IAN.
Oh, yeah.
What I realized is that I got frustrated not because they weren't achieving their goals, it's because I felt like I was failing as a trainer. So I realized that the whole problem, it was me, but not really the client. And
Yeah.
I wasn't digging in, and it's all about asking and asking. Yeah, but tell me more, And it's also realizing as a trainer that it's not gonna take a week or 2 months or a year. It could take like years for a client to achieve a change, and we have to be patient. If they wanna keep coming to us, we need to follow their pace, not our pace, I think.
Oh, absolutely. And I can't agree with you more. Ever since I started coaching, not one of my clients has ever frustrated me. I can tell you, I enjoy it so much because I just feel like I don't have that pressure. It's not me failing. I do what I can around supporting them with the questioning and the tools, but in the end, it's up to the clients. It's not up to us because we can't force them to change. We can't make them change. They have to want to change. However, we can give them the right tools. So it is definitely more of that questioning and all that checking in and especially if you've got the powerful stuff up there, the values and the vision. So, and you check in with their behaviour. You know, when I talked about the cognitive dissonance too, if you can come up and as soon as someone feels like their behaviours aren't in line with their values and their visions, that's a really powerful thing for clients. I've brought that up times when people think, oh yeah, that doesn't really sit well. How can we make you feel better? What are the things we can do that will start to make you feel better about yourself and where you're going with your life?